Of a quorum, I call the Boxborough Finance Committee meeting to order. We will do a roll call vote as we have one person on Zoom. So I'll start with you, Michelle. Can you just state your name and present, please?
Michelle Ryan, present.
Joe?
Present.
Nealon, present.
Connor, present.
And Newton, present. Thanks. And also we have here Rajon Hudson, who's the Deputy Town Administrator, Hongwa Lee, Finance Director, and Susan Back from Boxborough News. So Gary's won't be here tonight. He's going to listen in later and do the minutes.
Okay.
So let's be super clear.
Adam's here.
And Adam's here.
Yep. So you can announce him.
Adam Klein is here from the AB School Committee. So first thing is minutes. We have two sets of minutes to look at: October 7th and October 14th. So October 7th. Are there any comments?
Yeah, just one note. I was remote. Michelle was not remote. I think it was copied from the previous meeting, so it just had us reversed.
Okay, so I'll get Gary to amend that then. So any other comments on the minutes of October the 7th? Take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favour, roll call vote for those in favour. Michelle?
Yes.
Joe?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Tony? Aye. And then the minutes of October the 14th.
Move to approve. No,
Second.
no comments.
Any discussion,
Pretty
comments?
straightforward.
Yeah. Okay, so Michelle?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Tony? Aye. Any citizens' concerns?
Adam's the only citizen.
Adam, you're a citizen? Yep. No concerns.
Last I checked, I was a citizen.
No reserve fund transfers. So the first substantive item is the FY26 budget. We have a dashboard now for Q1. So I will show that. So first thing was the spending Q1. I think everything here seems to be pretty much in line with expectations. The only thing that jumps out is the retirement funding line, but that's I think typical that we do a one-off payment for that once a year.
Mm-hmm.
I seem to think. Any comments on that?
No, we're at 25%, correct?
We're at 25%
Yep.
overall, yeah.
Yep.
And then the income line, running slightly ahead, as we did last year, I guess.
Be interesting to see where we land
Yeah,
if that continues, right?
yeah.
So, yeah, just looking at local receipts, that's the one that,
And we had talked about getting more of an explanation on all of that stuff
Yeah.
at some point, so we
Yeah.
understand it in budgeting in the
Yeah,
upcoming
yeah.
year.
And then reserves, this is where the reserves stand right now. Large free cash balance,
It's huge.
which we're going to have to deal with somehow in the budgeting process, but with limitations on how we deal with that. The other bit of good news here actually is the OPEB fund. If we look at I calculated the percentage of our OPEB liability. Last year it's sort of 43% this time last year, and now we're at 53% of the liability. So we've made reasonable inroads in actually catching up on that. So that's a bit of good news, I think.
That is good. Free cash number is so high.
You have a question, John?
no, I'm just looking at, so it's 3 times out of bound, basically, right? 1.4 times 3 is 4.2.
The free cash is 3 times what it should be,
Yeah.
what we target. Yeah.
It's so tempting to use that to offset the budget, but
Yeah.
it's a long-term foolish thing to do.
So debts, outstanding principal on the main bonds. The short-term borrowing, 1.132 million. So that will be refinanced in November, and they'll roll in, I think, some of the other newer items that we have authorised.
Okay.
So if we perhaps jump to the next slide, this is what we have authorised and what's been not banned, basically. So anything with a blank in the right column has not been banned yet. So, for example, we have road maintenance from town meeting this year, which will be spent. So that will be added, I think, to the ban. I'm not sure about the timing of the other things. Rajon, maybe you know about timing of these other purchases that we have in here. We have, like the culverts, and we have the chlorine system, and the dump truck. I know the fire engine's going to be later, right? Because that's not.
Yeah. So the fire engine, the tender is already bonded, right? So that took 2 years to get to the point where it came off the assembly line before it was upfitted.
Right.
And that's when it goes into bonding. So we just did that. So we probably have 2 years for that 1.2.
But we've got 1.9 million there outstanding, which is authorised and not yet taken.
And that ambulance for 133,000, we continue to put money into this ambulance revolving account,
Right.
which is significantly more than it was when we did the debt.
Yeah.
So we think it's possible if it's another year, and it may be,
Might cover it.
it'll cover it, and then we'll just,
Yeah.
we'll go to town meeting to
Yeah.
withdraw that debt authorization.
Yeah.
Can you go back, if you're done with this, can you go back to the previous
Yeah.
slide?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, can I just, debt payments in the middle of the chart, 1534, right?
That's what we paid on the existing bonds. Yes.
Interest, though?
That's interest
So
only.
we're not paying any principal?
Well, that's what we talked about. Not this quarter, right?
Correct, it's not
Yeah.
this one, it's
Okay,
not,
all right.
it's paid in November 1st, it was due
Oh,
November
Yeah.
okay,
1st.
thank
Yeah.
you.
And just looking at gaps here, so there's interest paid on the ban, how, like in Q?
We pay that once a year as well, so that will be due in November, I think, right?
Okay,
Somewhere November, December.
Yeah.
only once per year.
And we'll have to, and also in November, we're going to have to pay some principal back on that, because some of these debts now are more than 2 years old. So the rule is, once they hit 3 years, you have to start paying back principal on a ban.
But that's all been authorized, and that's part of our budget,
It's all
right?
authorised in the budget, but we'll see in the next quarter some principal being paid back.
Yeah. And you said this is gonna be refinanced in November?
Yeah, because it's a 1 year ban. It's a 1 year ban, I think. Is how
Yeah.
it works, and they roll in the existing ban and add the new stuff to it.
But that's what we're doing, is we're just rolling the ban, we're not putting it out to bond.
Correct, because what they're saying is it's not enough money yet to make it worth bonding.
That's fine, because once you do that, we usually have to vote additional bonding fees. So if you were to take that, roll the new ban stuff into it, and let's just say in a year you decide we're gonna roll this into a real bond, and it's gonna be a full debt servicing bond, there's fees that go with that. So we gotta make sure that we include that as you're kind of forecasting out in May for the next year, whatever if you're gonna do a real refinance on these bonds, these short-term bonds, into a principal and interest bond.
Okay.
It may not be enough still.
So it's a town meeting warrant, is it?
It is,
Yeah.
and we've done that. We've done town meeting articles just specifically for the bonding fees.
When was the last time you guys did that, so I can?
It had to be
It's
maybe
gotta
2 or 3 years ago.
It's got to be at least, because this ban is now 3 years old.
Right, so
Yeah.
it would have been the meeting, so it would have been the year before this ban, right? Because we took all the bans then, actually, that probably makes sense. We took all the bans then, we refinanced them into the debt, so that's part of the 4.2 million.
Yeah.
And we had, it's like $30,000, I think it was like a $30,000 article, but there's definitely, we didn't need to do an article for that. So it doesn't look like you would have to deal with that in the next upcoming fiscal year, just sort of something to keep in mind, because you will end up with fees and if we don't budget it, or it's not a warrant article,
Okay.
which is what we usually do as an
Yeah,
article.
yeah. Well, something for the new treasurer to deal with, I think.
Yes, but finance director can put it on her list of things to remember,
Yeah,
so we make sure we're all there.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, back to that next page, I'm sorry.
Next page?
Yeah, sorry if I keep having.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's authorized, and we've got that in a line item someplace, right? How do we keep track?
It's only really here, actually. It's nowhere else. I mean, this is where we're keeping track of what's been approved by town meeting.
This is
So-
new, right? Tony did this.
So we're committed to it, yeah, yeah.
So
No, but
before
we
it was
never-
just Before, it was just the FinCom kind of writing stuff down.
Yeah,
And the department heads knew, right? Because,
Yeah.
for DPW, he knew what he had to bond, so he would work with the
Yeah.
accountant. But I don't,
yeah, I was concerned that we had authorised a lot of stuff
Yes.
and hadn't
that's
really
what-
thought about how we pay for it.
That's what I'm trying to get at. So the town has basically said, I'm willing to pay for this.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
all been voted at town
It's
meeting.
already been approved, and
Yeah.
it's stacked up there in the back.
Yeah,
And,
it's sort of a liability in a way.
exactly, so
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
this debt payment or interest payment hasn't hit us yet, but it has to be accounted for in the future, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Because when we just say authorized, it makes it almost sound a little bit like, okay, yeah, we're all set there. It's already gone through the finance department and we're good. Okay.
No, it's.
I know
it hasn't
you've gone through this a
that.
thousand
Yeah,
times
yeah.
and.
it's
but-
authorised by
No, it's a
town.
good question,
It's
though.
authorised by town meeting, right? So town meeting.
Exactly,
It's a
exactly.
legislative body, so they've approved it.
Exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
just,
yeah.
okay.
And
So
so
this is a
soon,
hit to cash flow, essentially.
as soon as
Yeah.
DPW come and say, yes, I'm now going to buy my dump truck,
Okay,
that check is written.
yep.
So it,
Oh, no,
I was-
that
I was
loan
gonna
is
ask-
Well,
taken.
that loan is taken, yeah, yeah.
So,
yeah.
so DPW does have a big part in the scheduling of this at this stage, like, I was under the impression, once it gets to this stage, it's sort of in the town's hands, as far as treasurer or, finances go.
Well, I think
in
the
order to-
department heads have so the ambulance has been ordered, the fire truck has been ordered. I don't know how DPW does with it, but the department heads kind of will come up, so when the $1.2 million fire engine goes from the factory, comes off the factory line, which is usually 2 years now, it used to be 1, now it's 2, and goes for upfitting to become the Boxborough truck, that's when we have to bond it, because we have to own the truck before we can claim the truck, right? So that's when they bond it. And so the chief works with the finance director and with Mike to say, okay, this thing's coming off the line this year, so we gotta go to bond with it.
Okay.
Does
So
that
it's
make
something I
sense?
could go and talk to Ed and maybe get his idea of when these things are coming down.
Sure,
the
yeah,
line.
yeah,
Would that
yeah,
help?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think so.
yeah.
I still haven't met with him to kind of get
Yeah.
up to speed on the DPW.
Yeah, you may want
stuff,
to
so.
share this document with him, so
Yeah.
make sure you're aligned, he's aligned with us. I'm sure he is, but it'd be good to sort of let him see our view of it.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Staffing, so we have 3 openings right now, and also what I did here, noted the changes from last year, because we authorised new heads, or new head, and new hours at town meeting. So if you look at Q4 25, the numbers obviously have changed since then. So this just there for a note, really.
So actually, I have a question, Rajon, I was gonna ask Mike, but he's not here, so you're it. So I hear we've lost an officer in that he's left town.
Yeah.
Okay, not lost an officer.
Police officer.
A police officer.
Oh, right.
But I also heard someone we just put through the academy. Is that the case? It's a younger officer that we just put through the academy.
Yes, it is.
So that's the rub. 50 grand to go through the academy and get trained and all the overtime to cover the academy. He's been out of the academy for 6 months. Actually, January.
I think it may have been 2 years.
I don't know that it's been that long, but in any event, now he's gone. So now we have to, likely gonna have to put somebody else through the academy. I mean, if we get lucky, we'll get an older officer, but that's is that the only officer that's left recently?
Yeah, that's the only officer.
I thought CODA was gonna keep all the officers in
Yeah,
town.
I thought it was
Well, Coda's keeping, Max is still in town, so he's got Coda, but
we can't give them all a dog, though, can we?
yeah, no, we can't give them all dogs, no. But that's, and it looks like protection is down. Is that a firefighter they're down? So they're down a police officer.
Well, it's 2 firefighters.
Oh, and the police officer's not even in here yet.
Yeah. This is the end
Right,
of
this is
last
last quarter, and
Yeah.
the police officer left in October.
Yeah.
So they're down 3 people in protection,
Yeah.
so.
But is the new police officer accounted for here? Isn't that a one-for-one exchange on the?
We don't have a new officer yet.
Oh, he's.
So,
we
so
have
under
second
actual
academy.
number, that actually, when it comes back after this quarter, it's gonna come, if we don't replace that officer, it's gonna be 25, way down
Yeah.
3 for protection.
I thought you said one was in academy now, is that?
No,
Oh.
it says, I
all,
said,
all the officers that were in the academy are out now.
yeah. And it's likely, we're not, it's hard to get officers from other departments to come to, because it's seniority and all that kind of stuff. So we've been we've put 2 officers through the academy, I think in the last
Those were the
few
last 2
years.
hires. Were 2
Yeah.
officers.
So,
They were former dispatchers that
Do
went
we
through
know
the
where
academy.
he went, this guy? It's a bigger department, more opportunities?
do you know where he went?
He went to, I believe he went to where he recently purchased a home, so he's going to the community where he purchased a home at,
Yeah.
Is it a bigger community? We're just trying to, you know,
I think it's, I don't know about the size of the community, but I think it might be similar to Boxborough. I just know that he had a long commute coming here, and it was a easier move for him to be in the community that he's moving to.
all right, thanks.
Okay, and then outstanding tax. So one thing just to note here is the numbers for FY26 are estimates right now, because the assessor's going to be doing a final calculation of what the tax owed is by the town, personal property and real estate. But what this shows is that the top line is what was outstanding at the end of last quarter for every previous year, and then what got paid in Q1 for all of those years and for this year. So at the bottom is what's left outstanding as unpaid. I mean, there's some negative numbers there, which I think is sort of like we probably need to have our new tax collector go through these numbers and do some cleanup. I think there's obviously some errors somewhere in this, but I mean, I think the bottom line is that for the old years, there isn't that much outstanding actually, but it probably does need some cleanup and some chasing.
Except for 24, right? That's 275,000 uncollected in real estate taxes?
Yeah, looks
Okay.
like it. Yeah.
So you got almost just under 300,000.
Yeah, but it's 400,000 for 25 still.
Right, but
As
that's
well.
still at least closer. I mean, 24, we're getting, you know,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think I think there'll be a more aggressive approach in the future to collecting back taxes. So that's where we stand right now on taxes. Okay, any more questions on the dashboard?
and this is getting published on our website.
Yeah. If we will approve it, we'll send the ratio on and put it on the website. Yeah.
Do you want a motion or just,
I
you
don't-
were good with
I
us
don't
saying?
think we need to
yeah.
vote it. I mean, we just reviewed it. Okay, FY27 budget. John, do you want to talk about the budget model?
Sure, do you have something I could talk to though? Do you have the,
I don't have. You have the most recent version. Do you want me to give you
Yeah.
or you can share it on Zoom maybe?
yeah, let me bring it up, let me see. Mine's kind of ugly though, just,
That would be great, thank you.
Can you, Michelle?
Michelle, did you have a question?
No, I was just saying, if you could pop it up on the screen, that would be great.
Yeah.
Working on it.
yeah, this should only take 20 to 30 minutes here.
It's in the Maria School of Sharing on Zoom.
No.
For some
I-
reason,
So
you're
different.
showing rather than the screen on here.
Right, so I said share screen. Look, I am a prodigy, face it.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So do not look at any of the numbers. Adam, do not look at any of the numbers.
So just don't look.
That's a fair
What does
point.
that mean?
That is a fair point. But let me just illustrate some of the challenges that we're running into right now. So again, especially row 19, levy exceeded, so what we're trying to do is create a budget model. And, I'm sorry, this mouse is just gonna be. And we're trying to use a format that we've all seen before that's presented at the town meeting and all. So, and basically it's revenues versus expenditures. And we're trying to keep these categories, everything consistent so that, for example, Hanwha, when she goes back in time, sees I'm calling people out here, sees, the same format, same collection of data that we've had in the past. And what we're trying to do, and quite frankly, I've struggled with, and I think we both have had a little bit of a challenge, is finding relevant historical data for us to go forward to extrapolate.
What kind of historical data do you want?
I want actuals. I don't want budgeted.
So if I have budget, I have to have budgets going back since I got on this committee.
I don't want the budget. I want
No, but with the actual columns.
Okay, so
Like if we can go back
Yeah.
to a point where we have actuals in that budget spreadsheet, I bet you Becky has some too. that go back in the old budgets.
Okay, so what we were originally doing, we were using DESI. Is that right?
No, Vadar, was it?
No, it wasn't Beta.
No, Department of Local Services?
DLS, there you
Yes,
go,
yeah, yeah.
And it's one of those maddening things where there's a ton of data there, and I think most of it is budgeted, not actual. And it also doesn't align perfectly with the way we present the data. And there's so many other columns that are not defined for us, it's a real problem. So we need to at least just get the last 5 years. Originally, we wanted 10, but I wanted 5 real solid actuals to super levels of detail, just to see how we've done over the last 5 years. If we can get 5, we should be able to get 10, but I'm asking for 5 right now.
I know we can get further back. So from when Jennifer Barrett was here and back, we can get as much data as you
Okay,
want.
so, all right. So that's what we're trying to do. And what we're trying to do is to say, look, what have been growth rates for the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? And originally I wanted 10 years, and I think you're looking at some of it in here right now. And it's just that I don't feel confident using the state data. I just, it's,
So can I ask why we can't use the budgeting reports that come out to us, which we haven't seen in a while, but we used to get like at the end of the month?
Well, it's
budget-
PDFs.
The PDFs.
Well, do we have them for 5, do we have 5 years worth of
We
them?
have to, because that's the real record, right?
So I emailed you both earlier today,
sorry, I haven't seen it.
just the spreadsheet, how you want to set it up to download it, so I'm working on that.
Okay.
To get the actual, I finished 23, 24, I'm going backwards, because it's different database that I have to grab the data, so I can get those to you for that, 5 years.
So you have to go to a different database.
Yeah, because in Vadar, it has the current year, it goes from 26, 25, 23,
Mm-hmm.
and then anything in prior to 23, there's another, like, database that I gotta go in Vadar and grab it. And
Okay,
that's-
but there's consistency between those two databases, correct?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. What do you mean, like?
So when you say, AB school, no, that's a bad example.
'Cause it had all the
Debt
actuals
service
there, right?
existing, from the old database to the new database, it's gonna have the same definition, correct?
Yeah,
That the columns will line up, the data will line up, correct?
so.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot, I'm sorry. I'm just-
So, like, I exported out today the 21 and 22, and like I had mentioned, the general fund code, it's like 001.
Yep.
Where the new one is 100, so then
Right.
I have to like do the pivot table.
Yeah,
To like make sure that it goes by department and the total of the actual, and that's how I did it. And then I'm trying to fill in the Google sheet that you guys sent it to me,
And so that's when the other accountant, so we had Jennifer, and then we had a temporary accountant, and she went and changed all the account numbers on everything and changed the way everything's done. I may actually have some of her old pivot tables that I could maybe look up and send you, so maybe you could just kind of, because she had done these massive pivot tables. So the information, once you get it, but it's not, it'll be consistent in ABRS schools and all other town, and then debt in the big columns, but within town non-ABRSD, it may be different, because it might, you know what I mean? But if it's, but you
Yeah,
can,
so this is what we're looking for, see it on the screen here.
yeah,
Which is
Yeah.
not as,
that,
that's what we're
Lost.
looking for, is a level
So-
of detail.
right, so you should be able to get that, because this is like one level up of detail than we used to get. We used to get the minutia and all of this.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't-
That's got changed,
Yeah.
but it didn't change from town non-ABRS to, ABRS, obviously those remain different. The debt was the debt, so we should be able to do that. I don't know about this fire station debt, is that debt servicing for the new fire station
yes.
you're talking about? Okay, so there's not gonna be any historical debt on that.
No, but that's something that's obviously
Yeah,
gonna.
yeah, yeah. No, I get that. I'm
impact
just
us
trying to-
Significantly.
I could look to, hang on, and see what
Okay.
I've got for Excel spreadsheets, just to send you so you can,
Yeah.
if I've got that table that I never
Yeah.
understood, but I can look and see.
okay.
Okay, so here's another challenge. So how do we forecast free cash?
So my historical knowledge of free cash is it's never been this high.
Exactly.
Every year, we were able to, in our budget model, kind of, it would always hover at a certain amount. So as we got towards the end of the year, we could look at where we are with our budgets, have an idea of what was going to be left, and kind of this is what we expect, $500,000 is going to go back into free cash. I'm dumbfounded by the amount of money that's going back into free cash every year. I don't understand
Okay.
it,
So
and I don't know how we can forecast that.
there is a table out there that's on one of the state reporting documents where it kind of makes an estimate for us. And that's what we have. And we could look to that to use that as a, almost what % of the ATM approved items were paid for by free cash. It would be a manual, if you remember, it would be a manual calculation, a very tedious one, but we could do it. So there's a document out there, and I think.
On the
Well,
Department of
that's the
Justice
other thing we're
site?
trying to figure out, right? If you look at town meetings, we have warrant articles, which are paid for by a mixture of bonding, free
This is
cash,
the wrong one.
and raise and appropriate, and a couple of other small things. And how do we look at that history, which seems to be very up and down? How do you understand what that's like to be in the future? You know, we're trying to predict the future, really.
And so I think the thing is,
Yeah.
the reason it's up and down is because it depends on how much free cash we have
Yeah,
and what's the warrant articles, right? So last year, we had a lot of free cash, but we spent as much as we could
Yeah.
on the articles we could spend it on, right? I think that's why it's limited. We have 4 point whatever it is,
yeah.
in free cash this year. I don't know that we can spend all that money unless we put it toward the budget, which we don't wanna do. So, I think, and it depends on what we have for warrant articles. And if we're, I know that Kristen in her select board meetings has said, we're gonna try to keep, the warrant articles are gonna be like what we need this year. But we have
Yeah,
free
that-
cash.
That's also what we sent out in the budget guidance, is to limit the amount of
Right.
capital requests and warrant articles for.
And that's why we did
Yeah.
the capital, that's why we have the capital plan, so that we can predict what we need within that capital
But
plan.
also, capital items really should be bonded because they're multi-year items.
They are.
You shouldn't be paying today. You shouldn't be paying today's money for things which are going to be out there 10 years' time.
I don't disagree, but at the
Yeah.
same time, if we can pay $75,000 towards a cruiser and we have $4.2 million,
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
that kind of thing, right? Free, it's just like the OPEB thing, $300,000 a year out of free cash to
Yeah.
OPEB makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Right, and I think we did that last year. I think we looked at things
Yeah,
at what we
sure.
bonded and what we didn't
Mhm,
bond based
mhm,
on,
Yeah.
what it was.
It seems like there's too many decisions and like constraints based on what you can spend.
Oh,
that,
sorry.
Like, I don't know how you could like tease out a trend or something that you can rely on for
I'm
free
not on-
cash. Because even if the amount that rolled into free cash each year could be calculated or at least estimated based on trends,
I didn't know.
we're still gonna decide
Yeah.
how to use it
I
each
didn't
year.
open
And
this
then,
right.
like you said, the
And it's a
different warrant
matter
articles.
of what's
yeah.
coming in front of us, what's not
Right.
coming in front of us,
Don't
we
see how we
just,
could predict.
we just don't wanna get in a situation where we're using reserves for the operating budget.
Right.
That's our biggest constraint.
Yeah.
It's just, that just doesn't, it's not good financial policy.
And it's not like we're budgeting in order to have more free cash flow in, like we're trying to budget tightly, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, this one should be sharing, but here we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is,
This is a little closer. So that's one of the challenges we are kind of wrestling with. The second one is, so Tony originally had debt as a line item for revenue. And basically that shouldn't be there. And I just want to make sure, and I don't mean to,
debt as a line item for revenue?
Well, it's a source of funds that we have, right? So when we if we look at our balance sheet or our profit and loss account for the budget, we say we've got this business going out, this much coming in, free cash, debts, and taxes. So to me, so in one way, it is a source of funds that offsets expenditures.
So that ends up being net zero in the model.
Well, in the model, yeah, it does. It's a profit and loss
Right.
account, isn't it? Really, yeah.
yeah, but, so it didn't feel right to me after thinking about it because it's tied to capital items, at least it should be, right? And we don't have capital items perfectly accounted for at all in this model, right? So I don't think you should have it as a revenue item in the model.
I understand where both of you are coming from.
Yeah, depends whether, I mean, maybe that we should put capital items in the model.
It's a capital budget, that's a separate item. That's a
But
separate.
it's a lot, but it's a line in the model, right? If we look at
You could have a capital budget line
our
item.
town expenditures going forward, we know we plan to spend $1.5 million, $2 million, $3 million, whatever a year.
But we don't know if it's gonna be all bonding.
But most of it,
Most of it will be.
Will
Most of it.
probably be,
yeah.
but we'd have to look at the capital plan.
Well,
So the one thing we don't think we've ever done with the capital plan is attached, because it's always been it comes in front of our budget, our capital day, and we're like, okay, how are we funding this? Because in what makes sense for the time, because it's really hard to project. You know, if you asked me 5 years ago if we'd have $4 million in free cash, I'd say, no, we've never had $4 million in free
Right.
cash, that's crazy. So, that would have been hard to predict that we could have used some free cash for capital items,
Correct.
so.
Right, so if we're trying to get total revenues, and we're not gonna account for large capital items in the bottom half of this budget, you shouldn't have debt as a line item,
Fine.
okay?
Yeah.
So, so let me just take you through this one more time. So local receipts, state aid, free cash, other is CPC and all of that. And that other one was,
TNC, that's the transportation.
It's a tiny amount.
It's
Yeah,
like
that-
$600 or something.
right,
It's like whatever we get our share of
I
Uber.
know,
It's
I
like
know, I know.
Almost not worth the effort to like
Yeah.
kind of account for it.
I'm just trying to make the top equal the bottom, so I hear you, I do hear you. What we've done for, where we've been wrong is, am I looking at this right, is local receipts
Yes.
in a large way. But before I get to that, so what we're trying to do is extrapolate from the past 5 years, preferably 10 years, so that we can have growth values up here for everything, basically. And then create a model that comes out from here, which will basically, it's the same method that we've done every year, where you've got everything but the tax levy, and that makes up for everything we're short, revenues minus
Yeah.
expenses, right? So we're trying to get a growth rate from obviously the schools.
Yeah, so the top block, basically, we can add in different scenarios of what the growth might be. for each of
Exactly.
those
So,
lines.
so our assumptions is once we get our stable starting years of 24, 25, and 26, we will be asking for everybody's opinion on what we should put in for the next 5 years,
Okay.
right? You know, what's fair, what's conservative, what's aggressive, what do we think? And from all that, all these calculations will flow out, and we can add some more calculations. I'm more concerned about the raw data propagating through the model before anything else.
So local receipts includes the new growth?
Yes, and let me just, while we're on that, let's just look at that. So, not that one, but I've got all the good stuff all over the place. All right, so, don't look at the numbers, don't look at the numbers.
I don't know how you look at these spreadsheets, like my head's spinning.
Don't look at the numbers.
Highlight the column I need to
Seriously,
look at
don't
right
look
now.
at the numbers. So here's when you look at DLS, they actually give you, there's your state aid, and that's very consistent.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's forecasted or actual, but it's close enough. Where that's a problem, because there's a big difference, is when you go into DOS and you say, hey, what was our local receipts? It won't say forecasted, but it will give us the forecasted numbers.
It doesn't give you the actuals.
Does not give you the actuals in the place that it's
It
easy to
should,
get.
though.
But it should, right? Don't
It-
you
Hold
report
Hold
the
on,
actuals?
well, time out.
Okay.
You can get to it, but not in the data set that has all of these other nice numbers that we would want to compare to each other.
That's why
So-
that makes sense.
So here are the actuals, all
Okay.
right? And here's what we forecasted. So this is a big difference. So you just have to hop these two
Oh,
columns.
Okay.
So when you look at that, that's about the amount we've been off the
Yeah,
last
yeah,
few
yeah,
years,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Where we're like, where did this extra
Yeah.
$500,000 come from?
But is that forecast our forecast or their forecast?
It is the number that we give them. I know it is.
And it's
Yeah.
probably off of the sheet that we do the assessment, right? The assessment
the
sheet that we do in October.
We do
I forget
this.
what that's
Yeah.
named.
Don't we do this?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
So when,
The tax
when,
recapitulation?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So we put in what we anticipate the receipts,
Yeah.
local receipts, new growth and all of that.
Exactly.
It's the tax assessor does that. When he, I assume it's he, right? Because we have a male.
Yeah.
When he does this and sets a tax rate, either, well, it's gonna be coming up soon. There's gotta be a tax hearing soon. because it needs to be done by November
It's
30th.
November, yeah.
Yeah, he sends a report, and I forget the name of it. It's got a 32 something something. He sends the report in, and it breaks us down. So I'm assuming,
no,
I
I
don't
have
know that for
access to
sure,
this.
but I'm assuming
Yeah,
that's where
yeah,
the
yeah.
local
So that
receipt
report-
forecast comes.
We have all the reports,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where this number 2497646 comes from.
So that's the reason for our free cash problem,
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think.
Yeah.
Because that's,
It's a $500,000 every year,
Yeah.
easily.
I
And-
have a question. Could some of that increase in the local receipts be, a portion of it be because we've done a reassessment of some of the properties over the last few years where we updated the values?
The reassessment shouldn't, because they should be anticipating that, right? Because the reassessment, the way the assessment works is it's information through the January before. So, for instance, when Aranta Bio opened up, which is now Vibalogics or whatever, we didn't take into consideration, like they opened their doors in July. That October, we didn't take their personal taxes, all their equipment taxes into consideration, because it's the July
But this is
1st,
not
or
tax, though.
January 1st number.
This is not tax, this is local receipts, so this is.
But it's local receipts doesn't that include the non-real estate
Yeah, these
taxes?
are non-property.
This should
and-
be excise
Yeah,
and personal
it's a,
property.
it's a type of tax.
So it's not the personal property tax?
It is
It
not the
is,
pers-
no wait, personal property in respect to equipment. So
Okay.
businesses pay, I get forms from two
Okay.
cities every year that says, here's what personal property do you have?
Right.
And I use my last year's form, and then, I mean, my
Yep.
equipment's so old at this point, 20 years old, that it doesn't count. But,
Right,
so it, a little bit, but there's a cutoff date. And so anything during that year, if it hasn't happened since January 1st, does not get taken into consideration in the forecast for that year.
so we
Yes.
went adrift here in 2021, right? We look at the numbers with forecasted and actuals. Before 2021, they
Yeah.
were pretty much in line, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After
So,
that, they went adrift.
Well,
right,
that-
and so
2017.
2021,
Actually, early too, 2015 to 17 as well.
and beyond that, right? So one year, one of the reasons we had, I don't know, one of the years, there was an explanation that it was the new businesses opening up and the property taxes.
Right.
It was also, local receipts also include the fees that come through for the building department. And when Enclave was coming online, they didn't include the building permit fees as that. So that was right around that time. I don't remember exactly when Enclave came online, but I think they were started to build. And so that was our first big bump in cash, so I'm assuming it was for FY '21, and that had a lot to do with the fees we collected during construction. So there was a couple of different reasons.
Right,
but-
so basically, next time around, we need to basically look at our historicals, actuals, not our historical forecasted or budgeted.
For budgeting.
Yeah.
And actually, hopefully, we have an assessor who's gonna get, our forecasted number this year is gonna be from a different assessor.
Yeah, for our budget models last couple of years, we've taken the numbers been given to us by the town.
Assessor,
The assessor, yeah.
Yeah.
And said, okay, that's it, we didn't question it really.
right.
And it's been wrong.
Yeah, so now what you do have is the planning board is in the process of approving the Campanelli, hopefully soon, they're writing conditions, but they're gonna approve Campanelli, and that's gonna be a number of other buildings, so we need to make sure that that's the kind of stuff you wanna forecast.
Yeah,
That is a significant tax increase,
Yeah.
both real estate, personal property taxes.
right.
So we gotta make sure that that gets, it's a huge development that they're
Right.
gonna be adding on to the Beaverbrook campus.
Okay.
So,
So, I think that's enough gory detail. I mean, are you guys on the same wavelength in terms of what we're trying to do here, in terms of?
So, yeah, we're trying to model this so that when we do the budgeting process, we can understand how bad it is or how good it is.
Or how good it is,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So, and Adam has his
Yeah,
hand
yeah,
too,
yeah.
so you know. So one of the things is that the school just did a multi-year model.
Yes.
Yeah.
So are these numbers gonna be based on that?
Not on their multi-year model, right? I shouldn't use your multi-year model.
So that's part of what my comment is.
Okay.
So, I understand what you're trying to do here, and I appreciate it. And I think some of the challenges that we've had and some of the feedback that we heard from you was around, what's the word? Stability in understanding what the budget's going to be. And I think we are back at understanding the difference between the school's operating budget and the stability of the operating budget versus the stability of the assessment to the towns.
Yep.
And what I'm starting to look at, and I'm looking at some of the historical Table 6 data as well, is that even if the school budget remains consistent, and our model shows we're looking at a 3% increase or whatever it is on the operating budget per year, we're still running on a 3-year average of enrollment data. And we can be doing everything right in town and we can be forecasting it. But if we gain students in Boxborough, or more importantly, if we lose students out of Acton, if that ratio changes, that's what drives this inconsistency in the assessment that the town is getting.
Yeah.
And what exacerbates this is there's roughly 800 students from Boxborough and the balance of the roughly 5,000 students in Acton. For every delta towards us in students, it's an extra $14,000 or so. Whereas,
So when you say towards us, it's how,
More
for every student, more students Boxborough has.
it's not every more
Oh,
student.
okay.
It's the change in the ratio,
Okay,
right?
okay.
So like we could be flat and our
But if Acton goes
But if
down-
Acton goes down, we feel that harder than if Acton goes up.
Okay.
Or if we were to go down to Acton's side, because they have a much larger percentage of the students.
So each student change is what were you going to say? I'm sorry. I didn't interrupt you.
I'm not 100% sure, but it's in the ten of thousands of dollars, 14-ish, I think is what I saw. Whereas, and basically what you do is you can take the assessment divided by the students
Yeah.
and say, all right, if we move a delta in students towards Boxborough, there's a significant change to us, which is why our assessment feels like it changes. So I think the thing, John, that is going to be tough about creating a model that is a consistent increase is that there's nothing any of us have control over that affects that. And I don't know how to solve the problem. Like I can give you, and our model is a consistent operating budget model, but it is not a consistent assessment model. Now, the assessments are a rolling 3-year average over last year. So we have October 1st numbers now. That will not affect the FY27 budget. That will affect the FY28. So we can give you a year, maybe 2 years out of what it's going to look like. If we plug in our model of what our operating budget increase would be, what that will look like on the assessment side. But it's not any farther than that. And then the resolution to this is to find a different metric by which to apportion costs. And there are any number of them. We could take a longer look at enrollment numbers, or we could say we need a more consistent way of apportioning costs. What's something that doesn't fluctuate as much? What's something that is tied to another metric that talks about the community's ability to pay? And then how do we transition to that in a way that does not create a cliff for either town? So how do you pick a number, offset that number to make it balanced to what we're doing today, but then that basis can change at a slower rate, more consistently.
That sounds like an EQV model.
That's a possibility,
Right?
yeah.
And that, in the past, and I have no idea what that number looks like now, right? In the past,
EQV, is that like an ability to pay model?
yes. And because of the formula the state used when we were negotiating the regional agreement, 2015-16, Boxborough's EQV was much higher than Acton's because it also included, and I don't know if this has changed, that people who worked in Boxborough but didn't live in Boxborough. So we had Cisco at the time. So we had all of these people who were making a ton of money but didn't live here. So that was one of the reasons. And the 3-year rolling average was to actually try to bring some calm to, so
Yeah.
it isn't like this every year on the enrollment,
Yeah.
right? That's what the 3-year rolling average. The problem is if student enrollment changes and Boxborough goes way down this year, it takes us 3 years to get, 2 more years to get there, 3 more years. That said, if Boxborough goes way up because Acton goes way down, it still takes us 2 years to get there. So that's why that model was used.
But what's important to remember is it does not relate to just what Boxborough does. So
Right.
Acton builds a bunch of housing, it swings towards Acton.
Right.
Acton loses a bunch of students, and they can, they've swung hundreds
Yep.
of students.
Yep.
It could hurt us. So it's not necessarily the specific measure that you use. It's how do we find a measure that doesn't fluctuate as much, that both towns can agree upon, that you can offset. So EQV roughly is like an 80-20, and we're at 15 or 16% right now. So you just take that number and in an agreement you say, well, we're going to do EQV minus 10% or whatever it is to get you where you are, and then you're going to look at the last for 8 years of EQV, and EQV I think comes out every 2 years. But it doesn't need to be EQV. It could be, real, taxable value of real property in the towns.
Isn't there only like 3 or 4 models that the state allows us to use?
I
for
think
funding models for between the two towns?
I'm not sure.
So I think at least when we were looking at it, and then, like I said, this may have all changed, but when we were looking at it in 2015, there was just 3 or 4 models, funding models. The 2 top ones that most districts used was the 3-year rolling average and the EQV. There was a reason at the time we didn't do EQV. No idea, because that's fallen off my radar, where that stands today. Because we've had a lot of businesses. Cisco's not here anymore, but now Campanelli's moved in, and there was a couple of more that just seemed the formula was crazy.
I've never looked at them. I think what I'm trying to do is come at this from exactly what you're trying to do. Like, the problem to solve is how do we make the budget planning more consistent? How do we remove the fluctuation
Exactly.
when we
There's
know
too much
that
volatility.
the operating budget that we're budgeting for at the school is consistent, but it's everything that's outside of our control that makes that fluctuation.
Do we know what other similar regionals near us do? Like Concord, Carlisle, I'm assuming is similarly swayed, like way more people in Concord than in Carlisle.
We can look. We haven't started
Yeah,
this
you
yet.
just look at their regional agreements.
Yeah.
It's all laid out.
Can you,
Yeah.
you mentioned.
Just curious,
mentioning
like if we
the
know if they're happy with the way that they do
Senate-
it, they use
I'm
different
sorry, go
models.
ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Could we do 5-year? Is that an option?
5-year what?
As long as both towns agree.
No, obviously, but is it?
I don't know from the legislation or DESI's regulations.
I think that I think it's just a rolling average.
Yeah.
So I don't think they say
Anything
you
more
can only
specific.
do a 3-year.
Yeah.
I think you can negotiate that with the towns, but I do think there was only a few mechanisms by which there was a lot of restrictions. There was also restrictions on how you voted, there's like 3 ways to like set the boards and do that kind of thing.
My sense is that that DESI is pushing more schools to regionalize, and so I know they went through a revamp of the regulations just recently, and I think they're getting voted on. So I think there's an opportunity. My suggestion would be that we jointly, school committee, 2 towns, put together a working group to reevaluate what our options are. And what I would say is, this is a problem to solve for Boxborough. It's clearly not a problem for Acton. We've got to find something that is a challenge for them, that we can all go into a working group and say, what are some problems now that we've lived with this regional agreement for a number of years, and the financial situation has changed dramatically for both towns, that we can look at that improves it for both.
When you get enrollment models, do you do more than 2 years out? Because we used to get enrollment models, 5 years out. Because beyond 5 years, kids aren't born yet, you have no idea.
Yeah, the NASDAQ models that we get for enrollment, I think, go out 10 years.
Okay.
And those are in the enrollment reports that actually I think we'll see at our next or following meeting.
Okay.
But yeah, we see that. And the big change from last year from previous years, last year we were at a plateau for a very long time, whereas previous years they kept on telling us, this is the bottom, we're going to go back up again. And so, this is what...
And you've not gotten the numbers this year yet?
We have not seen this year's yet.
Because there's building going on, and now with MBTA communities, you would think that there's going to be another significant, because they have to build significantly more housing, or zone for significantly more housing in Acton than we do. And they've zoned that area, Martin Street in South Acton, down by the train station. And if you go over the bridge and you take a right there, there's land back there that they've zoned to do that. So I don't know if that's being taken into consideration.
We'll see
right?
in
Yeah.
a month's time when we
Yeah.
get that report.
So what's the action item here then?
I think the
working party or something like that?
the action item for what I saw you guys looking at was maybe for us to look at our October 1 enrollment numbers for this year, which will give you a really good way to model out what at least FY 27 and 28 will look like from an assessment distribution view. To at least take the next 2 years model and feel really good about that. Beyond that, I think I think once we get through the reorganization work, we'll advocate to put together a working group to look at how the regional agreement could be improved. What's working, what's
But
not.
that needs to be done after the reorganization.
Yeah, we've got enough to do right now.
Yeah.
Well, and without knowing where that's going to land,
Right.
it's hard because
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does seem to me that the idea of making it more stable year to year would be a benefit to all of us, because what we're trying to get to here is being able to paint a picture that we're on a consistent
Yeah, I mean,
budgetary path here, not an up and down budgetary path.
what I would much rather argue with you about is my operating budget and not my assessment to the town.
Yeah.
Because one of them I have control over them and the other one I
Yeah.
don't.
And a good person, because Mary Berlin, John Fallon, Mac Reed, a few other people whose name I don't remember because it seems like forever ago. It's only 10 years, but but Mary Berlin and Mac actually led the Boxborough, they led the regionalization
Right.
committee, and then sat on the Boxborough side of the regional agreement negotiation. So she's got a lot of knowledge on how they got there, how they got to this stuff.
Yeah.
I was on the committee, but you know, really, she brought it forward. So I would say we have a lot of experience in town, including John Fallon, who's negotiated now 2 regional agreements.
No.
And Mac does this consulting work
And Matt
professionally
does
as
his
well.
consulting work, right. So there's 3 really solid people that have a lot of information on this. Matt could probably even answer some of the questions regarding the EQV and the enrollment and what makes more sense when we get there. But I do think they need to get through reorganization, and we need to and see if that even affects the regional agreement, right? Because there's no point if somehow the reorganization ends up affecting the regional agreement, let's just do this all at once. Doesn't make sense to do, you know, a little bit here and a little bit there, if we can get 2 solid years of numbers out of it.
So for the model then, John, you've got, Maria's going to send some stuff, it sounds like.
Yeah, so I'm happy to go through my files, because I have everything organized by year. Pull out, I mean, it's that giant spreadsheet, but it will have the actuals. And then actually, you know, that should compare. Now, I cannot speak for the 3 years before our new financial director started.
Yeah.
That was kind of, we were in this black hole of information that may or may not have been right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that, you know, maybe between the 2 of us,
Yeah.
we can come up with, she can come up with reports, and then I can show you actuals.
Okay.
And I'll see if Becky has anything as well. So I'm happy to do that. It might take me a little while to dig through. I mean, I think I have some stuff on flash drives and stuff because I've switched laptops, but,
I mean, it'd be nice to be able to share this budget Saturday, right? I mean,
no, I can get you information by Saturday.
yeah, but just the model.
Oh, sure, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Oh my God, yeah.
so we all
I mean, I think we
aligned on
should
this.
have this now.
Yeah.
I mean, right now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so in other words, we don't have till budget Saturday.
No.
I'll do the best
Well, no,
I
not
can
so
to work through the end of the
But,
week.
I mean, I'm just
Not
sort
very
of
political, I'm
saying
sorry.
that as a
It
backdrop,
just
you know.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, so
Yeah.
don't wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You can please stop sharing now, John. And then the budget guidelines I've sent to the select board and to John and to Mike and everybody, so they all have that stuff.
So we are doing a budget A and a budget B. Well, not by we, the town. And you're modeling budget A and B,
We will be eventually.
right?
Yeah.
Budget A is the override budget, and budget B is the
Non-override.
non-override budget. Okay, I just want
Yeah.
to make sure that that's consistent, because that's what it's been in the
So
past.
budget A should be due this Friday, and then budget B should be due by next Friday.
Okay.
Okay.
And is that all going to be in ClearGov? Commonwealth, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're both in ClearGov.
Yeah.
But it will come to us in a better form, right? A different form? You guys have figured that out? We're not getting that in
It should be in
ClearGov, right?
spreadsheet,
No.
right?
We're
Similar
we-
to what
we-
Tony did last
We'll
year.
get an Excel spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
We talked about
By department?
a few months back, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the guidance, I mean, for budget A? Is it still, I mean, what was the guidance there? Because I know
Well,
we
you-
talked about it briefly,
We
but
talked,
like,
we talked about it, yeah.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page,
No, no,
because that
no.
was a little while ago.
Yeah. Oops.
Because even with the override, we talked about no new hours, no new,
Let me try and pick this up and get it to work. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can kind of give an overview. So what I gave for all department heads for budget A was level service, and then for budget B, level funded. And as far as for like the non-contractual COLAs, I gave them just do a placeholder with 2.5, and then for budget B, 0.
0 for COLA and steps?
Just for COLA.
Okay, so even if they're non-contractual, we'll still give them their steps?
Yes.
So that's not level funded. Right, because level funded would be, if I'm on step A, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but work through this with me. If I'm on step A as an employee, and I'm not getting a COLA, but then the next year I go to step B and that's a $500 increase, then that's not level funded. That is an increase to the budget. Level funded is I have to stay on step A.
Okay.
Is that right?
Sounds right.
That'd be my interpretation.
So can you just confirm that it's 0 COLA, 0 steps?
Okay.
So we didn't tell them that, we said excluding code. This is what we sent out, which is no new hires or additional hours or salary adjustments except COLA.
That's for budget A.
For budget A, yeah.
But budget B,
We didn't say actually.
we
Didn't
didn't, but I mean, but Mike took it to level funding, and level funding means that there's no steps,
Right,
right?
okay,
Other than what's contractual.
yeah.
I mean, that's the way I hear it. I guess I'd like to know if it's not that way.
Makes sense.
But if it's contractual, we can't do
Yeah.
anything about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so from here, and I know I sound a little schizophrenic, Adam, so when I say this, you're probably like, oh God, here she goes again. But on the one side, I know I'm a little bit harsh about the budget from, the assessment from the schools and the money and wanting reorganization. But at the same time, they have made significant changes to their budget and cuts over the last number of years. I want to make sure that as we, even with a level service budget of budget A, there's not a lot of extra stuff in that budget. We need to be able to, we certainly can't cut to the degree that the region does. They have a $116 million budget. We're talking about half of, half of the budget that we have. But we got to make sure that we look at this. I mean, as I look at it coming up, if we're going to have an override, we can't go to the town with a budget that includes, for instance, $2,000 employee appreciation. With all due respect, we appreciate the employees. We
Yeah.
can do it for like we used to, the select board used to cook lunch or a picnic for everybody,
Yeah.
right? So it's that kind of stuff, making sure that all the extras are really cleaned out of that budget, and that would be budget A.
Yeah, yeah.
So, because I don't want to be on town floor and have someone say,
Well, I think
what
that's
is
the
this number?
flavour of what we gave them in those guidelines, I think, was.
Okay.
Are those, is that a living document?
Is it a living document?
Like you sent it to them, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. But are we gonna refer to it again? Because we should use the same terminology,
Yeah. No, we can update, I think we should update it.
right? So
Yeah,
when we say A and it's a
Yeah.
level service,
Yeah.
what exactly does that mean?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
should say that in your option A.
yeah.
And in level B, option B, you should say it's level funded,
Level funded.
level funded.
Yeah.
And-
But that level funding could go to other things, so it's a level funded budget. So if you have $2,000 for employee appreciation, and I don't mean to be, we don't appreciate employees, but if that number's there, and we're looking at level funded, but we need to use that someplace else, maybe that's what we're looking at when we're level funded, because that's a lot more difficult, level funded.
So when we say level funded, do we mean that at what level? Do we mean that
We
only
mean that
at
at
the total level?
this year's level. So if this year's a $10 million budget, to use round
Okay, but
numbers,
you don't mean that at a sub-budget level?
Like everything we spent last year, we can spend this year.
For each-
yes,
The $2,000 appreciation, we don't need to, we don't get to spend it again this year because,
we shouldn't, we should cut
Yeah.
that out because
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
waste. But if we need it for debt service,
right,
when we're looking at the budgets that get proposed to us, we can say, you know what? In either one of these budgets, if we cut this $2,000 item out, and I can pick something else, because I don't wanna keep picking the same
Well,
thing.
What
Yeah,
I'm
but-
trying,
but-
what I'm trying to ask is,
yeah.
as they go through each sub-budget item, and we say you have to, it's a level funded, none of those sub-budgets should be larger than last year.
Absolutely.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, at
Or
a
are you
minimum.
saying only at the total?
No, it's usually, in the
Well,
past,
well,
it's been,
the problem we've got is this, is that a lot of those items in the budget are going to increase, like employee benefits, healthcare, that sort of stuff's going to increase anyway.
right, we have no
You
control of
don't
that.
control that.
Understand.
So if you say you're going to level fund the budget and it's going to be the same numbers last year, that means all the other stuff which is controllable has to shrink actually
Right.
to make
The
up for that,
operational stuff, yeah.
that growth in the other stuff. So it's doing,
It's a
you
combination,
can't do it at a micro level basically. You have to look at the whole
So
number.
it's not
Okay.
just one thing or the other.
No,
At least like
Yeah.
departmentally, like the
Part of
total
it,
of
you
each.
can't do that. There'll be
Right.
some that have to rise no matter what. But
Yeah.
are you talking at the top, at the bottom level, the total number, in light of all those things you can't control that are
Yep.
going to rise anyways,
Yep.
you still want that number to be the
Level
same?
funded.
We
Okay.
said actually 2%, didn't we?
Okay, so
In our
this is where we're
guidelines,
having
we
difference.
said 2%.
Can you bring it back up so we're?
So
We
the-
said, so it's gotta be within our levy, so if that's 2%,
So the guidelines you
That's what-
said
that's
at the last meeting, that's what I included as part of the guidance to the department heads.
So what did you say, Rachel?
What was shared right there is what I sent to department heads.
no operational override, less than 2% overall growth, including ABRS, so less than 2%,
Yeah,
right? Because that keeps us within our levy.
because that's when we did that initial calculation
Right.
with the imperfect model, that's
Right.
what we thought would keep us within the levy,
Right.
was 2%.
So we need to look at that closer.
Yeah.
And John, this has to be a living document, because the reality is, we're gonna get this budget, but if it's $30 million, was this year's budget, it's $30 million next year, we're gonna have to move stuff around. So,
Well, yeah,
we
well,
don't
the
have a
model,
choice.
if the model improves as well, we have a different number there, basically. than
Maybe what,
2%.
sorry?
Well, the number of less than 2% was based on the first model we did, but now we have a better model, hopefully. So,
we have a better model, but does that mean that the levy's better? We don't know.
well, it's just a more accurate model. a more-
Exactly. Well, you're an optimist. Good.
Yeah, I mean, we
don't
have
see
a
it going.
small amount we can, that's the problem. We have a small amount of money we're dealing with within the 2.5%. And
Yeah.
plus the exclusions.
Yeah.
So,
I just think we
That-
should be consistent with whatever the town is calling them, we call them the same, so that.
Right.
Well,
we're-
Mike has taken this and done an interpretation of it, it sounds like, a little bit.
so we don't have, Mike can do whatever he wants with
Yeah.
his budgets and bring them to us. And we can say, well, here are our guidelines, but under budget B, the 2% isn't working anymore because our levy only allows for 1%.
Right.
And we're gonna start going through the budgets, and that's where we start moving money or cutting money
Yeah.
out. In the past, when we've gotten to the point of an override, the budgets had been, the FinCom, and I'm pointing to Susan because she was on that FinCom, they cleaned those, they scrubbed those budgets to the point where we literally had no place else to go. If we didn't have an override, we were gonna cut out a significant amount of people,
Yeah.
because that's what we have left. I don't know that we've spent the last number of years doing that, and I think that that's where I think we have to at least show that we're making that effort. We have to get there, even on the A budget. Because with all due respect, you can't go to in front of the town and say,
Yeah.
we need an X number of dollar override, not having scrubbed those budgets.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think
Well, that's the
that's,
sort, yeah, the flavour we have here. But I think, yes, it has to be a living document. I think we have to review these as time goes on and update Mike, and,
Okay,
about what they are as we refine them.
So I would say, in addition to this, if there's any additional clarifications you want me to make to department heads while they're preparing their budgets, just let me know so I can send
Yeah.
an update to them.
I mean, I do think we need to clarify the level funding and the steps. We can talk to Mike about that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Susan said her hand up.
yeah, Susan, sorry, yeah.
So, the personnel plan actually says you have to give a step every year.
If you wa-
But in the past, have we not?
No, it's in the plan,
We've-
well, it was in the plan, it was out of the plan, it's back in the plan. So right
So
now.
we're required.
It's contractual.
The town is required to
No,
give
it's
a
not
step
contractual.
every year.
I mean, it's
Not
part
a
of,
COLA, but a step.
but it's not contractual, is it? I mean, it's part of the personnel plan.
It's part of the personnel plan, right. And then I guess my other question was,
So I guess that
the
takes care of that.
contract, is the zero COLA for
Non-
non-contracted employees?
Non-contracted employees.
So contracted employees would in effect then still receive whatever's in the contract.
It's all contractual.
Right.
Unless you're gonna sit with the unions and try to open up the contract they just closed and signed. So that doesn't seem, well, it's all contracts,
Yeah,
but,
okay.
all right, so you're saying the steps are, so we can maybe look into that and get clarification, because I know in the past, I think we've not done steps in the past. I mean, when we've done this in the past, when I was on school committee, not regionalized, and we had this override, the budgets had been through 2 or 3 years of really hard numbers, and I think we've not done that, so I want to make sure that we're looking at these budgets. And that included conferences and travel and anything extra.
Yeah,
There's a
Yeah.
few years we pulled back on professional development.
yeah.
We all need to kind of get there. The school's already done a lot of that stuff, so I think we keep talking about parity. We just need to make sure we're like looking at that as well.
So maybe I should talk to Rajon and Mike offline about what their guidelines are to the department heads, so we can sort of at least feed that back here. We can try and make sure these become consistent, I think.
Yeah, so we're working to the same two targets.
Yeah, and then it will change, I think, as we move forward closer to the budget Saturday. Well, these will obviously change a bit as well.
We'll have a better idea where we are.
So we can, so we'll revert to this, we'll refer back to this next time as well.
And the only thing under budget B, where it says defer all warrant articles and capital items, I think almost with this free cash number, we can go back to high scrutiny
Yeah.
on capital items. I think
Yeah.
we need to be careful,
Yeah.
because if we defer, that means we're just bumping everything
Pushing it
up
off,
over
yeah,
the next
yeah.
couple of years, right?
Yeah.
So I
So maybe
think we can
it's too harsh then. So
Yeah.
we can, let's go back and let's come next time, let's go back and go through this and review them all again and
Right.
make sure we're all aligned on that. Okay. Okay, pretty enough on FY27, I think.
You think so?
Yeah.
Good.
Fire Station Building Committee updates.
Fire Station Building Committee update. So tonight we were supposed to be doing nothing but recommendations and voting for special town meeting in December. So that's been postponed. Select Board has got a target date for March 9th
Yeah, we've reserved March 9th at
for the
Blanchard.
school. Okay, great. I did not know that. So the
March 9th.
target, March 9th.
So there's nothing in December, correct?
There's nothing in December. And then, and the reason for this, so let me back up. After town meeting, we got the zoning we needed, which allowed us to build anywhere. That next week, a property owner approached the town and said, I have a piece of property that I would be willing to talk to the town about that I think we had considered in the past. But there's a few things that we haven't done any testing, so before we stop this process, or go forward with this process, we want to make sure that we either bring that piece of property in, which right now is being kept as kind of property X, and we got to make sure that before we bring it in, to look at it and think about it and do all the testing, we do some preliminary testing. So we're in the process of preliminary testing on this piece of property. It fits within the warrant article on the, up to $6 million. It's well within that number of spend a little bit more money. And that question came back, we consider it a 50-50. Although people said, yes, we would be willing to pay more money to be on Mass Ave, it was by like 10 people. It was, that is a 50-50 question. So the best we're trying to really look at this and take everyone into consideration. This one piece of property would get us out of potentially a residential area. So that's as much information as I can give you. We're hoping next week, we have a meeting next week, and we're hoping to have a lot more information, because despite the fact that it is March 9th, when you sort of start backing all these numbers out, you're at we need to make a decision pretty quickly, and we have to have this information maybe in December. I have the dates written down in my fire station book. So we're still going to be quickly coming up to warrant articles and that kind of thing. The hope is that we will come up with a warrant article for design, and depending on what property we're bringing forward, it will be one piece of property or it will be two pieces of property. And that's presuming one would be 72 Stowe Road and one would be somewhere on Mass Ave. And we're looking at the existing fire station, 750 and 800, that's where that blue house is, and the construction road and the house next to it, and 1300, and then this fourth piece of property.
Is the clandestine nature of property X to protect the privacy of the homeowner, or is
No, we're just not there yet, and we can't, we're also trying to negotiate, so,
right?
It's really hard to do this, because, Mike is trying to talk to the owner, and it's really hard when everyone's like, oh, that's a terrible piece of property, or, oh, that's a great piece of property, and, all of a sudden, everyone gets entrenched in their camps, and then, people are watching this, right? And so
that's part of what I worry, is people watching and thinking
Right.
the town's keeping secrets from them.
We're not keeping secrets. Everything's been done in executive session, posted meetings. People understand there's another piece of property. We're being as honest as we can be without giving out the address. And we are doing that to protect the town, because we're in the middle of negotiating and talking about the property.
Fair.
So that's that. one other thing. Like me, I can't remember what it was. Properties, town meeting. Oh, we have a forum that we're doing in January, which will be another listening forum, 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. on the 26th. I don't know, I'll confirm the date. And then we've asked, or Mike's gonna ask Alec, or already has asked Alec, to do a pre-town meeting with the warrants, just like we did last time at the library, which actually was very successful. We had a lot of people who had not been to town meeting that came, and really, it was a great way to give out information. So we're gonna do that again, closer to, I think it'll be the week before town meeting in March. So, do you guys have any questions?
Great. Tri-board meeting recap. Anything to say?
Felt like a long introduction and then not really a lot of meat there, you know, not a lot of meat on the bones. As far as the whole experience, you know, except maybe from the, you know, the Acton Boxborough Regional School District's opening presentation, and then kind of circling back, it kind of just felt like sort of get to know each other, baseline sort of vision and expectations, and then it kind of felt like the meeting was about to start right when it closed for me.
I thought we got some, you know, some of our information out, I think, there. So, yeah, it's good to get our view out there. Michelle, what's your comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I had a pretty similar experience, and I think I shared that in meeting too, that I was just really hoping for a little bit more detail. I was thinking about, I mean, I'm not sure if this is happening tonight or in the future, but I was thinking about like how we can get more detail in real time, like the actual meat that we need, and like what that kind of collaboration might look like. I don't have any distinct ideas at this point in time, but I think we just need to stay closer, like month to month, so it's not just like a build-up, and then we have to ingest a ton of information year over year.
Right. So, Adam, you sent a bunch of stuff to us, right? Which, yeah, Michelle, did you get the information that Adam sent out?
Yeah. I got all that information.
Yeah.
It was pretty apparent to me that like based on some of the email discourse I saw, that a lot of this information was coming to everyone all at once, and we have to like catch up and attend a bunch of meetings and ingest really quickly. I'm just wondering if there's a way for Fin, and this doesn't need to be solved tonight, but I'm wondering if there's a way for FinCom to just stay more involved month to month rather than having to ingest large amounts of information all at a critical time in the year.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's not just the school committee. We all end up, this is the time of year that we're all end up with a lot of information, and over the next course of number of months, it's just, we're in overload with budgets. I'm not gonna speak for school committee, but I will say it's not just them. It's what you're gonna start seeing from us as well, as soon as budgets get run through the town, and then Mike presents them to select board, and then get presented to us, and then we just end up with all this information we have to go through.
Yeah.
Totally. And I'm just saying, like, specifically for the AV school district, like, that is a huge line item in our budget. So I feel like we should maybe just be brought along for the ride or informed as things like maybe directionally changing throughout the year. I don't know, just something I was thinking about while I was trying to catch up through all the meetings and content that was sent over.
I see you, Michelle, as a future school committee liaison.
I know, I kind of smell it. I smell it in the air.
Took the words right out of my mouth. I'll share just a little bit of perspective on that. So in the past, and we're happy to do it again, right? The school committee has come and presented at both the select board and the finance committee, usually a little bit later in the process as we get further along. So that's something that we would do here. And then, Michelle, I totally hear the feedback. I think there's, like, if you had nothing else to do, you could go to meetings every hour of every day. So we have our budget subcommittee meeting. In fact, that was just yesterday. But typically we'll provide a recap of that budget sub at our school committee meeting. So having someone either listen in or come to that, you can at least start to hear the conversations that we're having. So at our last school committee meeting, we presented the budget subcommittee's budget guidelines to the full school committee and had a very thorough conversation around the definition of level service and how that's impossible, and the school district hasn't had a level service budget in over 5 years, and we talked about what it is that we have to get to for next year. We talked about very similar things to what you're talking about. Health insurance and COLAs eat up the entirety of our, ability to raise funds. And so the only way to manage that is through cutting staff. And at this point, the only staff that's left to cut are classroom staff, which means we're looking at class sizes. We're not at the top end of our class size guidelines, and we will be there most likely next year, depending on how reorganization works. But that's what I would share, and I know, Marie, you've got this experience as well. The biggest difference in terms of where the budget goes for town versus schools is we have 800 plus, 900 plus employees, and so the almost 75% of our budget goes towards that. We hold everything else at a very low number. Our model shows like 3% or so for everything else. So when we have 18% health insurance increases and we have cost of contracts that put us at 5.5% increase a year, the only way to meet the community's needs is to cut staff. And that's what we wrestle with every year, and that's what we've wrestled with for the past few years. So happy to speak with anybody individually about some of the things that we're looking at more specifically. What I will tell you is we're hedging all of our guidelines right now to see where the committee ends with AB Forward, with the reorganization. We know it's not going to solve all the problems, but the budget and AB Forward are so intertwined right now. We're really, we're struggling with what is the guidance that we give the administration, because we just don't know what we save out of one and then what we have to do to close the gap on the rest.
Can I ask Adam, so you heard kind of our thoughts, and my thoughts on the tri-board meeting is it was a good start. I do think that specifically, because John comes back and we get updates, right? So, because he goes to the meetings or watches the meetings and we get our updates from the school. I think it was really productive for the select board. I know Kristen's now starting to go to the meetings, but I think it was really good for them, and it was good to hear the other perspective. But I am curious, because I have heard that the school committee felt a little beat up that night, which I actually was surprised about, because I thought it was just sort of a general, we're all in a world of hurt. Like, not you guys put us in a world of hurt, but we're all in a world of hurt. That's how I came off of it. I mean, I came out of there thinking, like Michelle, we need to do, this is a good beginning. I think you're both right. But I certainly didn't hear it's the school's fault. We just said, I heard the select board, the FinCom, say we need some balance, right? Kids need to be educated, seniors need to eat. But I don't know. That's what I heard. But I also heard that some of this. I mean, Tori said that at one of the forums. I don't remember if it was his last forum or whatever.
What I would say is, when you represent an organization that is, 60% of both towns' budgets, and you have 4 boards there who are struggling with that, and actually 5 boards that are struggling with that, and then 1 board that represents that huge portion, inevitably we're going to be looked at as the ones who are carrying the load. So, what I would say is, similar to Joe's comments, it was a great introductory meeting for everybody. It's something that I think we should do, if not every 3 years, more frequently. It's really hard to get to sort of the meat of the discussion in something like that, and it's hard to get past our first go, which is our budgets are killing us, and that's a communal thing. I think for school committee members, particularly, of the people who were in the room, only one other person, and myself and one other person, had been at the previous tri-board meeting. I think we struggle with what's the best form, what's the best way to get this information out. We try to do it one-on-one with all of you, but there is a value in bringing everybody in the room together. If I were to look at this critically and say, what do I want to do to make it better next time? I want to have more time in advance that ramps up to say, what is it that we actually want to address as 5 boards in a room, other than getting to know each other and getting to know what our pains are. Let's come up with what's the problem, what's the one problem we can all solve when we're all in the room together. And I think inevitably we will end up feeling more equally, the pain more equally in a setting like that.
And it might be not doing it every couple of years. It might be doing it every year, because, the introduction can be, we know that the budgets are hurting everybody. So let's just kind of all agree that that's the problem. And that let's talk about where let's just jump to the next step. We don't need to go around to have everyone speak on every board. We've done that, right? If you do another meeting, maybe it's a quick, the chair can say, yeah, things are better last year, or whatever, but then we just jump to the problem. And so I think maybe it is the distance between the meetings, because I think before you did that, we might have had a tri-board meeting when I was on the committee, and like, I left the committee in 2017, and then there was no tri-board meetings, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think we struggled with the format. You know, how do you create an event for 40 plus people that's valuable for everybody in the room, and how do you balance canned presentations with an opportunity to have a discussion and a deliberation? Like, we brought everybody together. We had to open 5 different meetings and, you know, have all those votes. Like, there's a lot of process there. But once we've done that, there's an opportunity for all of us to actually deliberate in a public setting. And so what we've tried to sort of balance is, how do we have a talking head, which was kind of what 3 years ago was, versus how do we try to have some reading in advance and an opportunity to deliberate. That was kind of the way we were trying to do it this year. There's opportunities for improvement, for sure.
Yeah, but I think it was a good start. I mean, that's how I felt. I walked out of there and thought, this is a good start.
Yeah,
Michelle,
I didn't mean to make it sound like I thought it was a negative experience. I wish there was more, like, I wish there was more to it.
Yeah.
But I think it was great to meet everyone, to kind of hear the different perspectives. And I thought, you know, Tony, I thought you represented our side of it really well. So I think it let everyone kind of get their voice out there, but then it was sort of just, it ended there, I felt like. So.
Michelle, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I think what I was maybe getting at was more of what Maria was saying. Like, I feel like maybe we need to get together as a group, especially like that particular group, maybe more often than like right before something is a big critical issue. That's kind of what I mean by like bring it along. And I really struggled with like what we were accomplishing in that meeting. That's maybe just the way my brain works, but I felt really prepared understanding Tony's presentation, and then I felt kind of confused walking out with like, okay, so what do I do now? Like, what did we all accomplish by being here? Like, that was the confusing part, and that would be like, I guess my actionable feedback is, what is the deliverable coming from that meeting, and what are the actions that each committee is taking? That would be really helpful for next round.
Great, thanks. Okay, so next up is organisation. The calendar.
Oh, that organization.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have no BLF tomorrow.
No.
So that's canceled?
It's cancelled, yeah. Whoops. And then FinCom on the 18th, FinCom on the 2nd of December, then we have BLF on the 3rd of...
Wait. FinCon the 18th. Oh, 2nd. I thought you said 22nd. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, 2nd, yeah.
Yep.
And then BLF on the Wednesday after that, FinCom, so...
Yep.
2 meetings that week. Special town meeting's cancelled.
So can I just ask right there, so, and will you guys have more information? I think I saw this in the email. You will have more information on the options by BLF?
The next one.
The December 3rd one.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
12/3.
I think that's the idea, right? To have
Right.
that meeting
The steering
before that.
committee meets again, I think, the 18th of November, and so we'll have the steering committee's evaluation of all the feedback and the whittling down, I believe, by that point as well.
So they will be whittled down by then.
The steering committee will, I think the guidance is that they need to deliver 3 to 4 to the school committee.
Okay.
They may be, I think they've got 2 meetings to do that, so they may be on their way, but not complete.
Okay, so have we communicated to you clearly that we hope you take a very aggressive approach in terms of option selection?
We being who?
FinCom?
We've not. We haven't had that discussion.
Oh, okay. Can we do that now, just so Adam is not uncertain in any?
I'm sure we can do it now.
Yeah, certainly under your school committee report, you're the school committee liaison, so you can.
Well,
Yeah, it's independent of the reporting. It's really fundamental to what we,
yeah. No, let's talk about it now. Let's talk about it now. What is the FinCom view of the school reorganisation, strategic reorganisation options?
Okay, so does everyone know what those options are?
Need to recap. I mean, I've heard a lot of.
Well, there's about 9 different options, right?
really, there's 7.
7.
And, right, there's do nothing.
Option 1 is do nothing, option 9 is,
make the school district larger.
which you
Work
can
with
do,
another-
but that's down the line, so.
Yeah.
That's too
So
long.
you're really done with the 7.
Right.
I mean, the feedback that we've given to the consultants when we've had our focus groups is we want to have the most cost-saving version within those options, which looks like,
I don't know that that was the
Yeah,
feedback.
I don't know if that,
I think we said that.
well, that's what I said, and anyway.
Do we get a bottom line on each of those?
no, and that's
Like,
why,
estimated
I'm
amount?
at,
We've got-
will we have more of that information? I know you're theorizing,
Yes.
because I mean, I think that's what people have been asking for a
Yeah.
little bit.
There will be more information, but it will be after the survey closes and all of the first round of feedback has been collected.
So, and that's been a little bit of the pushback, because it is very complicated. It's a lot of information, and I think it's hard for just parents. I think the forums have been helpful because they've gone through all the different options. But like, I got the survey before I went to the forum. I was on school committee, and I was like, oh, good God, like, this is so complicated. I think the forums did a good job showing all the different options and explaining it. And I have to say, this focus group that we did this time was so much better than last year's consultant, by far, because I was on that one, and I thought, well, that's 45 minutes, I'm never gonna get back, and when I die, I'm gonna be pissed that I wasted it. So this, I thought this group was much better. He listened, he talked, he stayed on longer, so I thought it was a much better focus group. I want to put that out there.
Yeah, and just kind of freewheeling here, but just on the survey, I mean, I mean, it felt like I almost didn't have enough information to answer, to prioritize. There was a lot of the questions that were like, this could be interpreted so many different ways. So I'm just hopeful, like, would we have another survey potentially once we get through another iteration of this?
There will be another opportunity for the community to provide feedback to the school committee.
What is
So I think the part that we've not done a great job of communicating to everybody is that we're taking everybody on the journey at the same time, and that we wanted to have a very open process where everybody saw everything along the way. And different people come at this in different ways. Some people say, just give me the 3 final things with all the details, and other people want to know that you've considered everything. And so I think that ends up being frustrating for both sides. So the reality is this first round was to say, we looked at everything and give us your feedback. And I recognize that it can be a lot of information, and you're being asked to provide feedback where you don't actually have a lot of the details, but you have all these options.
Right.
And the reality is that some people want that, and they just want to say, don't close my school, or give me the cheapest one. And then the next round, there is more sort of discernment by the steering committee with more information. So lots of the questions that we've gathered from focus groups, from surveys and all of that, and committee members has been, we need a little bit more detail. And so, that detail is starting to get provided, and the steering committee will then sort of evaluate the detail plus the first round of feedback from everybody and start to deliberate and whittle it down. And then we've purposefully, after the steering committee says, okay, here's the 3, we're going to give it to the school committee, we've purposefully have 3 school committee meetings by which we'll discuss and have ample opportunity for the community to provide feedback at that time. So, part of it is if you're someone who's like, just give me the 3 options and all of the details about all of them, you're frustrated because we're not there yet.
Right.
We're going to get there. There's going to be opportunity for people to provide feedback. But this was for the round to say, we're not making this decision behind closed doors. Like, we're airing all the dirty laundry is kind of what's happening now.
Okay.
So I brought the options up.
Okay, yeah,
on the slides. I mean, if you want.
I don't want to personally go through each and every option. I don't think that's really what.
That's fine, but then I don't think we can give guidance.
Well,
because on the options, like, I don't think we can be specific unless we all know what the options. I mean, I know what the options are because I went to the forum, but how do we then say to Adam, the FinCom feels like A, when not everybody understands all the options?
well, I mean, I'd like to make a comment that, some of these options are obviously very scary, and they're big changes. And they are also ones that conceivably could save us the most money. And what I was hearing from a lot of people was, I don't want to change my school, I don't want anything different. But it was a lot of fear, and that's understandable. But what wasn't happening was kind of looking at it on the other side, right? Where you could go with these changes. And that's something I'm asking you guys to please not forget.
Yeah, so if you remember the process, John, I totally agree with you. The first thing that we did in the reorganization committee was to go in and create our new strategic vision and mission and vision, strategic plan and mission and vision for the district. That's happening in parallel with this. And at our next steering committee meeting, we're going back onto what is the strategic plan? What are the activities that support the strategic plan? How does that meet our vision of a graduate? All of the outcome-focused work that this group has done. And then we're going to tie that together. So how do we achieve the outcomes we want with the organizational structures that we have as opportunities? Because your feedback is similar to what we've heard from a lot of people, which is if we think just about the money, then we don't think about the outcomes. If we think just about the outcomes, we're not thinking about they have to be done together.
Right, and I think it's also just really pure fear, right? It's just a huge change, and everything's going to go wrong. And the reality is, we've got tremendous staff here, looking at it with a fresh set of eyes and trying to optimize the school system. Let's make a fresh start, for lack of a better term, right? Where could that school system go? I mean, it could go to amazing places, right? If you're just kind of starting with a clean slate. So I'm not picking any model by saying that, but it's just an attitude that you're going to run, you know this better than anyone, there's going to be a tremendous amount of fear out there with regard to some of these radical changes or big changes. And I just think you can't just look at it that way. It's not fair to you guys, it's not fair to everybody.
Oh, right, but it's hard for parents. Your youngest one is how old? He's still at elementary?
How old is he?
Well, I don't care how old he is. What grade's he in?
7th grade.
7th grade, okay. So he's not at Blanchard, right?
He's young 7th grade.
So he's not at Blanchard. So for a Blanchard parent, there's nothing scarier than any transition. Kindergarten to first grade to second grade.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand.
So that's the problem. And it's really, the problem is when you say save the most money, well, what saves the most money is to turn Blanchard into an early childhood. That's the most sustainable one, right? That's the one that's got the parents freaked out. If that, and I think all the rest of the models, including 5v2, all make a lot of sense and can be done, and you have confidence that it will be done, and you won't put the fear of God into an entire community. Now that said, my biggest issue is we have spent since 2015 convincing Acton and Boxborough, particularly Boxborough, we're one region. We're all together in this. We're one district. And what I'm hearing from young parents now is we should not be in this region. We should break away from the region. Why do we need to be part of the region? And that bums me out because we spent 10 years getting to the place where people finally, there were some people who were absolute no people to regionalization that they'll go to their grave that way. But we finally got to a place where I wasn't hearing Acton versus Boxborough, and now I'm hearing that again, and that bums me out because if we can't be Acton versus Boxborough, and I won't say, it feels as if for a lot of the Boxborough parents that we're just sort of being pushed aside, right or wrong. That's how they feel, and that's the conversation that's coming back, and that's so sad because, and you've worked a long time to get to a point where we're a district. We are one district, but this one, version 1 of option 5 is the one that has all these parents screaming, well, let's not be part of this district. I don't want to be part of Acton Boxborough anymore. And that's, are you kidding? After so many years of getting to the place where that wasn't part of the discussion, that wasn't part of the noise anymore, now it was, everybody came out together.
Okay, so you have a group of people
But
who are, hold on, let me finish.
Okay,
You
okay.
have a group of people who are adamant about that opinion.
Yep.
So what do you expect, what are you instructing Adam to do?
I'm
as
not
your zoning?
instructing Adam on anything. I'm just saying that that's the concern that I see with the communities, because we don't want to get back to that point. I'm not instructing on anything. I'm just telling, this is what I see, and it kind of is after so long of trying to get everyone to be one school district versus 2 separate communities, because I felt like it was our job to advocate for Boxborough, financially, but the parents had finally gotten to the point where it wasn't an Acton Boxborough thing, it was just the district. We were the district. So hopefully we can kind of quickly settle out on some of these things that we can get back to getting rid of all that extra noise, because it's a lot of noise that you don't need when you're trying to move forward with this. I think, that's my opinion. I'm hearing a lot of extra noise, and I understand it because parents are scared, and they're scared of that option. That's the option that I hear both Acton and Boxborough parents are scared of, but it shouldn't, I don't want it to turn into an us versus them for the parents, and that's what I hear from people. And I'm hearing it from a lot of, the people who have taken a long road to get to the point where it was just us as a district. And now they're like, well, maybe that was a mistake. I worked hard on that regionalization for a really good reason. It was the right move for Boxborough then, it's the right move for Boxborough now. And
I understand, but I mean, isn't the proper way though to acknowledge this is to put all these on the table?
absolutely.
Okay.
I'm not saying they did it wrong. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that that's out there. To, you know,
I'm sure the Conant people feel fantastic about some of these options as well.
I'm sure they're just as concerned. But what you don't hear, I heard Conant parents at the forum talk about their concern around Conant. I've heard from people in the community, why did we ever regionalize? We shouldn't have regionalized. I had people text me, I had people email me. I'm just telling you, John,
Is that
what I
an
heard.
informed opinion?
It was opinions of, I mean, the majority of those people did go to the forum, whether or not, and when I said, these are all the reasons why regionalization made sense in 2015, I think that's when we took the vote. We finally did it in 17. That's not changed. We could not go it alone. It was the right decision then.
Right.
It's the right decision now. But, you know, there's nobody that has, you know, you have
So
kids
that's
in
an
the
important
system.
statement right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very critical statement.
Absolutely. I've said it. I know other people have
We
said it.
can't go it alone.
We cannot go it alone. We couldn't do that. I'm not
Okay.
saying that we should ever walk away from the region. That's not this part. I'm just saying, making sure that we get that message out to people. I don't know how to do that other than, you know, I've talked to 10 people. That's only 10 people. And I know there's a lot of chatter online. I don't know any of these parents, right? I know there's a lot of chatter. Some people have connected with me through other people. I've gotten personal emails. And I've always said the same thing. It was the right decision when we made it in 2015. It's the right decision for Boxborough now. The process will play out. I'm not a big fan of this particular option, but that's, you know, I understand the concern, but this was the right decision. It just, after so long of trying to get people to this was the right decision, to hear the same thing, I'm like, oh my God, like we gotta get past this, right? It's gotta, and hopefully this, once they whittle it down, the options down, we'll get past that and we can start moving forward again as a district.
Yeah, so what you're saying is you can't let individual constituencies of a set of school parents sway the process, because there'll be other schools who also prepare.
Yes, but I do think we need to be careful, because that's the biggest option. I think that one, closing Conant is gonna be difficult, right? There's options that allows Conant to be a school in other buildings, but then those parents, there's no good choices here.
No,
right?
no. But there are some in there which are, I'm not sure, you know, where they sort of merge them together into one building and stuff like that. And you know,
Yeah, I mean, there's no easy options. I shouldn't say there's no good options. There's no easy options. There are gonna be difficult options for everybody.
People are gonna be upset no matter
But-
what you choose.
Yeah.
None of us have children in Blanchard. And all I remember from being on the school committee is those years from K to 6 in particular, because once your kid goes to the region, it's a little bit more distant, they're a little bit more independent. Those years in particular, that is the focus of the parents, because that everything we do, I was told once that if somebody's kid had 18 children in the classroom, literally had a parent say to me in a meeting, "You're destroying my child's chances of getting into Harvard." I'm like, your kid's in second grade. And I think I said, your kid's in second grade. So, you know, it's like, that's part of the thing. But that's a very real concern for people. And so just making sure that we understand that as part of the process and take that feedback from people and we have to just understand that that's out there in the community. And it's in both communities. It's not just Boxborough. Acton feels much the same way. A lot of parents are just as concerned about their schools.
But on the other hand, the option of do nothing is a non-starter.
That is not an option. And regionalizing, expanding the region may be an option, but it's not an option
not
for
sure.
next year. And if the
It's
school's
not
trying to do something for next year,
So there's some, I think in the middle there's some good options that are on the more cost-saving side. I mean,
yes,
I
but we
think
need to
something-
make sure that it's also on the educational side, right?
yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, exactly. I mean, I think overlaid and implicit in all this discussion is what educational structure is the best for the kids, right? So that's why I'm curious, like, is it 5, 6, or 6, 7, 8? And there's gonna be a cost associated with that, but that has to be factored in, right? Is it K through 5, or is it K 1, 2, 3?
There's also these economies of scale where you have specialists in one place.
Exactly.
Exactly. That seems to be where the cost savings would come, is if you could, focus specialists in different locations.
Right, but the more you centralize each grade, which is more efficient,
Yeah.
the less we get away, the farther away we are from our local schools. if I interpret
Which is
that
the
correctly.
biggest, which is a big concern for
Yeah.
people at Conant, people at Blanchard,
Yeah.
that's a concern. And,
But what if it comes back that that's the best educational model?
but we haven't heard that yet. So right now, we've heard these are the options, and what we haven't heard is, this is the most cost, we've heard this is the most sustainable, right? There's a couple of that are the most sustainable, there's a couple that aren't sustainable at all. We haven't heard any of that. We haven't, and understandably, you throw it all out there, you're gonna whittle it all down. But without all that information, it is very hard to get people to understand. So the best you can do is give them some of the history on it. You know, I understand the concern about a pre-KK. I understand the concern because I was on the building committee, and, you know, Peter Light advocated hard for a preschool to be built in that new building, really hard. And some of us were like, no, we don't need to add cost to this. We've built a beautiful preschool in that building, so now to then now move it 3 years later just seems like, okay, you know what I mean? There was a cost associated with
That's
that.
a consideration, right?
Yeah, it's also a sunk cost, almost, really. I mean,
I'm just saying
we're trying to
that, you
look
know.
forward. I understand. It's
Yeah.
great we have that resource.
But we need to, you know,
Not insult people along the way, I guess, or dispirit people.
Could we get like a selection matrix going, like how we did for the fire station building committee? I mean, like, cause there's more.
I think that's what they're trying to get to,
Yeah.
right? You're trying to get down to 4 options.
Yeah,
5
that's
options,
the
whatever it
work
is.
of the steering committee at its next meeting.
And then how do we guide that? I mean, should we take a ranked
That's-
vote at that
that's what we
stage?
should-
Once we
that's
get
what
to
we
the
should
4, we take a ranked vote or something?
Not at this
A
time.
ranked vote?
Yeah, I mean,
I just
just
think
like.
we have to get, once we get the information, once they
Yeah.
whittle it down,
So I
and then
think,
they
so
give
I
us
think,
financial
I think
information.
Adam's probably heard enough from us at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, just
Yeah.
every operational inefficient dollar spent is something you don't spend on
Yeah.
education.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. And then overlay that with optimal education structure, what the teachers want and what the unions want, and what everybody else wants.
Piece of
And
cake,
good luck
John.
to you.
No, that first one is true. And the optimal education model too. I want that.
I'll prepare you.
Uh-oh.
There may not be an optimal model. There may be research in support of several.
Exactly. Okay.
And, you know, that's one of the things that we're going to get at our next meeting is some third-party research that says, here's what research talks about banded schools, here's what research talks about a true middle school 6, 7, 8, here's what research says about K through 6. And, you know, I don't know what the outcome of that will be, but there will be research around all of those, and they may not help us as much as we hope that they will.
Muddy
Well,
the
it'll help
water,
you
yeah.
at least make
Yeah.
an informed decision. It may not help ease fears
Yeah.
necessarily, but at least you'll then, you know, you have the facts to back it up,
Yep.
which is important, right? Because right now, the optimal, what we're doing isn't optimal either. It's what we've done. I think Tori or Peter Light or somebody said, well, what we're doing now, how does it work? And he's like, well, it's worked for 50 years.
It's been great for 50 years.
50 years. I mean, you know, things have changed in 50 years, right? So I think, you know, it'll be interesting to get more information.
Okay. Committee reports. School reports, anything, John?
So,
Anything more? Is there more?
so Capital Committee meeting is meeting tomorrow at 7 a.m.
7 a.m.?
Yes.
Oh,
Um,
I don't know, that committee.
So yes, so they're gonna make a presentation to the school committee Thursday night, I think, you guys? Yeah, Thursday
What, the
night.
school
Oh, the
capital
school
committee
capital
meeting?
committee.
School capital
Oh,
meeting.
I thought you meant Foxborough's
No,
capital.
no, no.
Oh, okay,
We haven't
school
met
capital,
yet.
okay.
We haven't met yet.
All right.
That's coming up. We moved ours back a few weeks. So yeah, that's coming up. They are basically, their issue is the redistricting is basically impacting what they want to focus on as well.
Reorganization.
Yeah, yeah, reorganization,
Okay.
yeah, not redistricting.
Yeah.
They've got a few big projects, where is it? Blanchard parking lot, the bleachers in the gym, Jackson Church rooftop units. Those are the 3 they're clearly focusing on, can focus on, won't be impacted by the reorg. Everything else is gonna be a function of what happens with the decisions we make in December, they make in December. And the budget's about $1 million, as is expected, as it is.
So the $1 million covers like paving and roof units?
And everything else that's out there.
That's great.
No, yeah.
The roof units are part of a stabilization fund,
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
and it's a 2-year project, and we kind of have funding for the first year, and we're not quite sure where the second half will come
So
from
the
at
$1
this
million
point.
would be for the paving.
Yes.
And the bleachers.
The net of everything that is budgeted for this year is $1 million.
Okay.
That factors in,
Everything
Grants
that needs
and-
to be done for this year.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's what's
Potential
carried in the
future.
operating budget.
yeah. The school committee budget guidelines
Yeah,
came back at, what, 3.75 to 4.25? That's actually tomorrow's thunder, isn't it? Thursday.
yeah,
Thursday.
we just discussed that yesterday, and I totally blanked on what we said.
Yes, so.
Yeah,
I think,
operating
yeah.
budget of 3.7 to 4.25, which equals somewhere between
What does that translate?
2.3 to $2.9 million in cuts. So more cuts than we've had for the past 4 years each year.
Right, you said 50% more than,
Yes.
that was, yeah, I didn't understand the wording of that. So
Yeah,
basically
so-
50% more than what you cut last
Yeah,
year.
we've on average cut, I think, 1.7 to 1.8 million each year over the past 4, and to land a 3.75 to 4.25% operating budget, we'll look at 2.3 to 2.9 million in cuts.
So this 4.25, is it the overall increase or just the operating budget increase? Remember the budget guideline,
Yeah, what do you mean by overall versus
at the
operating?
very bottom of the ones, the expenses you can control? Or,
It would be
bottom.
the operating budget plus the debt service and all of that, everything before we distribute it to the towns minus the
Okay.
revenue that comes in.
So that's a 3.75.
7.5 to 4.25.
4.25,
all
okay.
right, so the upper
So
bound.
that's your entire operating budget?
Yeah.
Okay, so we gotta be careful with the term operating budget, because you're using the word operating budget sometimes for the stuff that you can control, right? But there are other items in that budget, like insurance and stuff like that.
That's
But that's within the
part of our
operating
that's part
budget.
of our operating budget,
Okay, all right.
and it includes
You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
the health insurance.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we have no control over that, but what I
Exactly,
have to
okay.
deliver to the towns is an overall budget.
But that's within the 3 point,
That's
Yeah.
within it.
So
Yeah.
this is the overall bottom line, roughly 120 something million, let's call it,
Yep.
16, something like that. All right, so the upper bound for us is 4.25, so we would take 18% of that, of the increase?
well, that goes back to the
Yeah,
enrollment
table
and the
table
yada,
6
yada,
gets
yada.
crazy. We can look at it.
Yeah, you were gonna send us the numbers,
Yep.
right? So we would take the worst case scenario, 4.25 times the
Plug that in.
18% times whatever it was last year as an increase, and that goes into our model.
That goes into Schedule A.
It goes into our model, basically. It's
Yeah.
Schedule A is,
Budget A.
Budget A, I'm sorry.
yes,
Budget
budget A,
Yeah.
A. I'm
yes,
sorry, I didn't
correct.
mean to say schedule, I meant budget.
Yep,
Yeah.
and probably should use my glasses here. Yeah, that's really all the key stuff.
Yeah, okay. Joe?
All's quiet on the committee front unless you want to know about Steel Farm spending, which is not part of our budget. But I have a report from them only.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here, okay. Let's see. The farmhouse phase 3 renovations, they've accrued, in a trust, they've accrued over 2K since inception, so they have 52,000. None of that has been spent yet. The Ice House Fund is exhausted, and they'll be closing that. And then there's about 17,000 left in the phase 3 fund. And the approximately $3,000 discrepancy mentioned previous meeting has not yet been resolved.
So the 17,000 is in the phase 3, that's CPC money? So
think-
that will go back to them?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
And then, I think that's what they had just voted to keep open at one of their last meetings. And then the revolving fund has 4.7 thousand. But that's all from prior warrants, and none of it's
Yeah.
in our budget, right? So,
No, the revolving fund is money that they've earned through either, I don't know if it's Hain, I'm not on the committee, but like the trees. A few years they sold Christmas trees. So the revolving fund is money they can use.
yeah, but the other, all those other accounts are from warrant articles and the Gene
Well, there
King's
is a
fund,
right, so there's different memorial funds. I don't know it all, but like the CPC funds comes from obviously CPC, and different warrant articles. The Ice House was a warrant article, I believe, so. but they don't, and they have a budget, I think they have a budget, a small one.
I don't know, I've never seen it in our budget model.
It's like, it's in the, like the 190, I think, which is like the maintenance budget.
So when I first reached out to Chris, he was like, great, I have a budget, this is the first time learning it, tell me all about my budget. I said, oh, sorry.
I mean, it's small, it's a
I'm new
small
here.
budget, but I think it's under the 190s. Well, what used to be 190, I don't really know what it is now. And it's like the Historical Commission, a couple of the smaller boards that have, because they have the museum, right, to deal with and that kind of stuff, but it's not a very big budget, it's really small.
Wouldn't museum be historical commission? Or
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so
Right.
there are
There's like
some.
overlap, but I mean, I don't think I've ever seen Steel Farm.
No, Steel Farm is,
listed
I think
the
it's
budget.
within the 190 budget,
Yeah.
but it used to be, they used to have their own little tab,
Okay. I was kind of under the assumption we
but
didn't
it's.
care a lot about a lot of those other things because they're out of our control now. You know, do we keep a laser focus on previous warrants that are being spent out of a fund if it doesn't affect our current budgeting or anything? You know, like how important is this type of report to the committee?
Yeah,
It's just
they have a building maintenance under 192. It's
How much
about
is that?
3,200.
Yeah, 3,200, yeah, so. It's important because we also have someone who sits on CPC, right? Michelle sits on CPC.
Right.
So it's good for Michelle to know, because maybe CPC hasn't, that maybe 17,000 is gonna go back.
Well, her
into-
husband's on Steel Farm Committee, so.
Right, okay, all right, well, let's pretend they're not
Very well
married,
informed.
okay? And they don't talk about it over dinner.
A conflict.
You know, it's just good to know what they have for funds, because if we have to cut 3,200, they have a $3,200 budget, if we have to cut it, but we know there's 4,700 they could spend,
Right.
you know
okay.
what I mean, in times that are a little more difficult, it's not a bad thing.
Okay.
Okay, Michelle, anything from you?
CPC's on Thursday, so nothing new since 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Maria?
No, fire station,
No.
that's it, that's my whole life.
Okay. Okay then, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Joe and Maria. You do your roll call votes on that. Michelle,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Neil and I.
Connor, aye.
and Newton, aye. Meeting closed.
Night.
Good job.